Alrighty guys, this dream is known as the return of the native. The mother stands by the island pier waiting for her son. Her luggage is bigger than she is. Dressed in her finest traveling clothes, she seems hardly able to contain her excitement as she speaks to Kiam, who happens to be waiting for a small boat to arrive. I got a letter from him, he says. Almost 30 years have passed since her only son left the island of his birth. There was no word from him in all the time until he recently wrote announcing his success and he plans to bring her to the mainland. I've been alone ever since I lost my husband, so just to think I might be able to spend the rest of my life with my son, his wife, and my grandchildren. She sold the house she had always lived in and has been waiting for her son to come for her. The letter arrived only a week ago. I wonder why it's taken him so long. The seas are calm. Kiam arrived on yesterday's ferry. You mean he's late? Kiam asks with some surprise. Very, she surprised, forcing a smile. I wonder what's wrong. Maybe he got busy all of a sudden and can't pull himself away from his work. He hasn't written again to explain? He's never bothered with things like that. Not since he was a child, she says, straining to smile again and glancing towards the horizon. No bigger than a dot at a first. No bigger than a dot at first. The boat is now big enough for a clear view of the mast in silhouette. That's it, silhouette. Anyhow, I'm not worried. I know he'll be on this boat, she says, raising herself from the dockside crate on which she is sitting and waving a handkerchief towards the approaching vessel. Kiam also stares hard at the boat, which gives his eyes a strained expression. Young man? At the sound of the mother's voice, Kiam hastens to soften his glance before turning towards her. You are a traveler, aren't you? That's right, he says. I saw you arrive on yesterday's ferry. Are you leaving soon? She is obviously curious about the stranger, but her face shows no worries towards outsiders. Relieved to see this, Kiam replies, I'm doing the same thing you are, waiting for someone to arrive. On this boat? Yes, probably. You haven't been in touch with the person? No, we haven't agreed on a time. I might be waiting for nothing, too. Oh, really? Kiam evades further questioning with a strained smile. This is not something he can discuss with just anyone. He is on a secret mission, one that must not fail. The woman still wears a look of puzzlement by their conversation is swallowed up in the general hubbub on shore, accompanying the approach of the boat. At last the ferry arrives. One by one, the passengers all light after their half-day trip to the capital on the mainland. Clutching the handkerchief to her breast, the mother scans each of them. These are peddlers who travel from island to island, hawking their wares, and men who have come to do larger-scale trading. Sunbound young men and women who arrived from the mainland in groups to work on the island's farms, and men coming home to the island after a season of labor on the mainland. None of the dozens of passengers, however, is the woman's son. Once he has disgorged its island-bound passengers, the ferry takes on people crossing to the mainland. greeters on the pier give way to well-wishers. The mother turns her back on the pier's hustle and bustle and plods her way towards the town. She hoists a heavy pack on her back and lifts a large suitcase in each hand. But she is taking only a few steps when the pack begins to slide off. Kiam reaches out to keep it from falling. The woman turns with a look of surprise, and when she realizes that Kiam is alone, she asks, "So the person didn't come either?" Looks that way. With only one ferry a day from the mainland, all they can do is wait until tomorrow. Are you going to stay on the island until your friend comes? I might have to. You can run up quite a hotel bill that way. I'm alright. I'm used to camping out. Camping out, she exclaims with a look of amazement. Then she smiles and says, "Oh well, you're young and in good condition. A few days sleeping outdoors shouldn't be hard on you." What are you going to do, ma'am? Go back home? I wish I could. I sold my house last week. I was so sure my son would come to get me right away. A hint of discouragement clouds her face, but she quickly recovers her smile and continues. The money I got from the house is a nice little bundle, so I decided to spend freely for a change. So that large hotel over there, I'm staying in the biggest room and taking it easy all day and all night too. I'm disappointed when he doesn't show up, of course, but I've worked my fingers to the bone all these years. It won't hurt for me to indulge myself just a little bit. Though he delivers with a smile, her words touch Kiam deeply. In her case, worked my fingers to the bone is not just a figure of speech. He, as evinced by her substanced face, which is so unsuited to be whatever the hell the word is, she has applied to greet her son, as especially by her bony fingers so ill-cornered by the cheap ring she is wearing. Hard as undoubtedly worked life has granted her few rewards, there is nothing expensive about her luggage. I'm sure your son will be here by tomorrow, Kiam says. Her deeply wrinkled face breaks into a joyous smile. Sorry, and my voice cracked again. Yes, of course, tomorrow for sure, she says with a deep nod. I hope the person you are waiting for comes on tomorrow's boat too. Thank you very much, he replies. I have an idea, he says. You might get sick camping out. If you'd like, why not stay in my hotel? I'm sure we could arrange something for one extra person. Kiam senses that she is not she's not suggesting this out of mere poltiness, which is precisely why he derms with a smile and a nod. Thanks just the same, he says. Excuse me, but don't worry about me. Just take the rest you deserve, after all, your long years of hard work. If you say so. She seems somewhat disappointed, but does not press him to accept. After he watches her trudge off towards her hotel alone, all but hidden from the view of her huge bundles, Kiam wonders if perhaps she was hoping that his company might ease her concern that her son might not show up after all. Even so, he decides not to chase after her and retreat his refusal. Just trying to catch up here. He is the wrong man to spend time with a mother whose only dream is to have a happy old age. Most likely, when tomorrow's boat arrives, she will finally be reunited with the son who she has longed to see all these years. The person that Kiam is waiting for will also almost certainly cross over the island tomorrow. The mother will undoubtedly shed great tears when when her reunion takes place. Kiam, on the other hand, has a bloody job to perform when he encounters the man he's waiting for. Kiam has been hunting him. The man is a fugitive, and there is a reward for his head. He is known as the boss of an underworld gang in the capital, and he has committed crimes without number: robbery, fraud, extortion, assault, and even murder. To cap his life of crime, he double-crossed his own gang and ran off with a great deal of money. Words reached the gang only a few days ago that the man is headed for this island, the place of his birth, and they hired Kiam to take care of him. The fact that they hired Kiam means that they are ready to have him killed on sight. Kiam and the mother meet at the dock again the next day at the same time, and again the next day, and the next, and the day after that. The ones they are waiting for never come. A week goes by. The mother switches accommodations for her expensive hotel to a cheap inn frequent by traveling peddlers. Actually, I'm more comfortable in a cheap place like this, she tells Kiam with a laugh, but more than likely her money would have run out in the first hotel. Your person is very late too, she observes. True. Who is it? He sidesteps the issue with a strained smile. He cannot answer her question if he is going to carry out his duty, and besides, he feels a tiny promotion deep inside. The mother stops questioning him and says, I hope your person comes soon. Another 3 days go by. A messenger from the gang disguised as a peddler whispers to Kiam as he steps off the ferry. We think he's still heading in the capital. We're looking at every rat hole we can find, but there's no sign of him. Kiam nods silently and glances at the boat. Even after the last passenger alights, the mother stands on the pier looking at the boat's empty deck. Let me ask you, young man, the mother says to Kiam 3 days later, does the place where you are camping out have a roof to keep the dew off? Kiam has been sleeping in the lamped old house he found near the harbor. All I need is a place to sleep, he says. Would you mind if I joined you there? What's that? The place I'm staying now is not much better than a ruin. I'm sure I'd be fine wherever you're staying. Yes, I'm sure it'd be fine. She smiles like a child who has found a new source of mischief. Kiam does not refuse her. More precisely, he could not refuse her. She has proudly run out of money even to stay in her current flop house. Kiam has noticed her cheap rings gradually disappearing from her bony fingers. As they pass the night in the abandoned building, the moon, their only source of light, the mother, without promoting from Kiam, spits out her memories of her son. God, why am I reading wrong? What the hell is wrong with me? They are by no means pleasant memories. Known as a roughneck, even from the earliest years, the boy was hated by the neighbors and caused his parents a good deal of shame. He would steal our money, stay out all night partying, and before we knew it, he was the number one thug on the island. He was always getting into fights and bothering girls. During the island's annual festival, he would go wild and destroy property. So many So my husband and I would have to go around apologizing to everyone. The father, a skilled stonesman, stonemanson, lost his job when the son stole valuables from the boss's house. The mother could hardly walk down the street without being subjected to the glares and finger-pointing of the neighbors. Things got especially bad after her son sets fire to the island assembly hall just for fun. His parents raised him badly. The boy's misbehavior is the parents' responsibility, and the son has become such a thug because his mother spoiled him rotten. It's the parents' fault, the father's fault, the mother's fault, your fault. They had heard it all. It was so hard for us, a little island like... It was so hard for us on a little island like this. There was no place we could hide. The boy was 18 when he finally ran away from home, or rather, left the island with his parents all but disowned him. The other islanders rejoiced as if a plague had lifted. One man went as far as to deliberately let the parents overhear his declaring, "I hope that bastard goes to the capital and dies in the gutter." The boy's father died 5 years ago. To the very end, he could not forgive his son, and in his final delirium, he was still apologizing to the islanders. But still, to a mother, any son is the baby she once carried. I never heard a word from him, but I went on praying that he would stay healthy in the capital, that he wouldn't catch whatever epidemic was going around, and he wouldn't get into fights, but that's just me, I guess. She gives Kiam a bitter smile. Or maybe it was just a mother, or maybe it's just me being a mother, she adds. You have parents too, I suppose? Of course you do. Everyone has parents. True. Are your father and mother alive and well? Kiam bows his head in silence. On a journey with no clear beginning and no definite end, Kiam is unable to answer a question like this. Instead, he asks the woman, "What is the first thing you'll say when you finally get to meet your son?" "Good question," says the mother. After thinking it over a few moments, she replies, "I won't actually say anything. I think I'll just hug him and say nothing at all. I'll hold him tightly and let him know how glad I am that he's alive and well." Just suppose, though, Kiam presses her gently, if you knew that he had a life less than acceptably life in the capital, too, would you still give him a hug? Her response is whatever. I don't know what the word is, sorry. First I'd hug him, then I'd give him a good talking to. She smiles shyly at Kiam and adds, that's what being a parent is all about. The next morning she runs a high fever. She may have survived the dew, but a night in the dilapidated building has taken a toll on the old woman's health. Even so, when it's time for the ferry to arrive, she struggles to her feet and heads towards the pier with uncertain steps. Alarmed, Kiam holds her back. "You're in no shape to be going out," he says. Despite his attempts to bring down her fever with cool spring water from the forest, it is as high as ever. Her labored breathing has taken on congested rumbling. Sorry. "I have to go," she insists. "My son is coming for me. I'm going to see him." She sways away from Kiam's restraining hand, but the effort causes her to lose her balance and sink to her knees. "If he's on board, I'll bring him here," Kiam assures her. I'll tell me now. I can recognize him. I can recognize him. Crawled in Kiam's arms, half delirious with fever, the old woman mutters, on his left cheek before he left the island. He got in a fight. Somebody cut him. He has a scar. Kiam nods and lowers the old woman to a straw mat spread on the ground. He fights back a sigh and closes his eyes momentarily. Then he stares hard through a small window at the ferry dock. His suspicions were right after all, though he was sure of it last night. Kiam was given a written description of the man when he took the assignment from the gang. There could be no doubt scar on left cheek. The ferry is approaching the harbor. The pier is showing signs of activity. Kiam starts for the door. Behind him, he hears the woman saying, "Please, don't kill him. Don't kill my boy." Kiam stops short, but instead of turning around, he bites his lip. I don't know what he did in the capital, but don't kill him, please. So she knows too. She knows everything. If you have to kill him, if you absolutely have to, please, before you do it, let me just... Kiam leaves the ruin in silence. His steps are uncertain as he makes his way in the blinding glare of the afternoon sun. This time, the man is there, trying to lose himself among the traveling peddlers. The man with the price on his head and the scar on his left cheek steps down to the pier. He is far more emaciated than Kiam's written description would have led him to believe. Now, no doubt he is exhausted from his years as a fugitive. Still, he has fulfilled his promise to his mother by coming back to the island of his birth. His eyes dart fearfully over the pier. His expression changes from the man searching for someone to the whatever the hell the word is, panked look of a child who has become separated from his parent. Kiam slowly plants himself in front of him. The man knows nothing of Kiam's mission, of course, and he never met him before. But he has the instinct of an inhabitant of the back alleys. His face freezes and he turns to flee. Kiam grabs him by the shoulder, but lightly, in a way he could make an onlooker think he was witnessing the joyful reunion of old friends. The man tries to shake off the hand to no avail. It would be easy enough for Kiam to kill him on the spot. His eyes show that he has no strength left to fight. Kiam has far more experience than the man does at surviving potentially fatal encounters. The man knows this. If you're going to kill me, get it over with, he snarls. But if you got a trace of kindness in you, you'll give me one last chance to do something good for my mother. It won't take long. Just let me see her. Once. Then you can do whatever you like with me. Kiam lets his hand drop from the man's shoulder. He's not going to run away. So, I didn't make it after all, he says with a forced smile. His face tells Kiam that he probably resigned himself to his fate. It suggests, too, an heir to relief at family brought his life as a fugitive to an end. How many men have you killed, he asks Kiam. I don't have to answer that. And I don't really have to tell you, and I don't really want to tell you to tell me. It's just that, well, looking at you, I'd say I'm older than you are, And there are some things a person comes to realize when he's lived a long time. Think about the guys you killed. Every single one of them had parents. Killing a person means killing somebody's child, right? When that finally drawn on me, I left the gang. The gangs don't pay retirement bonuses, so I sort of borrowed a little money from them and thought I'd use it to, well, I've given my mother a hard time all these years. His voice grows thick and muffled. He shakes off the emotion and proclaims with a laugh, "Ah, what the hell? That's a lot of sentimental nonsense. I don't know how many guys I've killed over the years, so I figured I'm getting what I deserve. I can't hate you for what you're doing." A shout comes from the ferry deck. We will be departing shortly. All passengers bound for the capital should be boarding now." Kiam looks at the man and says, "Just tell me one thing." The man says nothing in reply, but Kiam continues. "What is the first thing you're going to do when you see your mother?" "Huh? What are you talking about?" "Never mind. Just answer the question." "I'll say, 'I'm back.'" "No, I won't say anything. I'll just take her in my arms, that's all. Give her a big hug. Sure, that's what parents and children are all about." Kiam relaxes the grin expression on his face and jerks to his chin towards the forest beyond the pier. "There's an old broken house in the woods. Your mother's waiting for you there. Go to her." "What are you talking about?" "Don't ever come back to the capital, and don't stay on this island. Take another ferry and go far away to some other island with your mother." The man looks stunned. His voice is trembling. Kiam says nothing more. He leaves the man behind and strides towards the boat before it can depart. Mission accomplished. Kiam does not care if, in return for this deed, he is labeled as a traitor to the pursued by the gang. The image of his own parents preying on their son's welfare has long since faded from his memory. "Pulling out! Please hurry!" comes the cry of the ferry's crew. A big gong is ringing, starting by the sounds rebelling between the vast stretch of ocean and the open sky. Brightly colored birds dart up from the forest. Large birds and small birds. Parents and their young. The large birds seem almost to be shielding the smaller ones beneath their slowly beating outstretched wings. The end.